artists, for this week's lesson, we're going to be making abstract scarecrows in the Cubist style of artist Pablo Picasso. Reading through the PowerPoint attached to the assignment, you have learned a little bit about Picasso and how he was an incredibly famous artist who was known for doing art in an abstract style. When something is abstract, it means it is not realistic and doesn't look exactly like real life. Abstract art has more to do with lines, shapes, and colors. The type of abstract style that Picasso created is known as Cubism. In Cubism, a subject or an object in a picture is comprised of all different types of shapes. You put those different shapes together to create the image, in this case a scarecrow, that you want to make. In Cubism, Picasso's faces also show two different viewpoints at once. If I leave it the way it is, it looks like my scarecrow is looking forward, front view. If I were to cover one side of the face, it looks like it is looking sideways or profile view. So Picasso put more than one viewpoint in the same picture. We're going to do the same type of Cubist style and techniques for creating our abstract scarecrow. For this week's lesson, you need a white piece of paper, any size will do, a pencil and eraser for drawing. You're definitely going to want a black marker or a black crayon so that you can create a nice dark black outline for your drawing before you add color. And for coloring, you can choose what materials you like. Crayons and markers work perfectly fine. And of course, if you want to use color pencils, that's okay too. Let's get started on our project. The first step for creating our Cubist scarecrow is deciding how you want to hold the paper. You can hold your paper horizontal across or vertical straight up and down. It will work either way you're drawing. I do think that vertical straight up and down will give you more room for fitting the entire head of the scarecrow and some of the body and its hat as well. The first thing to draw when we're making our scarecrow is the shape of the scarecrow's face. So we're going to go towards the center of our paper and we're going to make a nice size U. But when I get down towards the bottom, I'm going to make it a little more pointy than I normally would. If it looks too small when you start your drawing, you can always erase it and try again. You do want the scarecrow's face to be a nice good size because it is going to be the main part of your picture. We're only going to show part of the body because the image is cropped, meaning we only see part of the image, not the whole thing. So the scarecrow's head should be the biggest part. Remember, I draw with a marker so you guys can see. Of course, you draw with a pencil and you can always erase your mistakes and try again if you need to. Now that I have the shape of my scarecrow's face, I'm going to make the line down the center that separates the two viewpoints. If you remember in the intro, I said that in Picasso's Cubist works, he shows more than one viewpoint on a face. It looks forward, front view, and sideways, profile view at the same time. So in order to make that happen for our scarecrows, we have to draw a profile line down the center of the head. So I'm going to go right up to the middle of my U. And I'm going to start down as if I was making a straight line. Then when I get to about the center spot, I'm going to curve as if I was making a nose. And then continue the line straight down to the bottom of the U. This will help us later on when we make the details of the face to create the front view and, if I covered it up, the profile view too. Now that I have the basic shape of the head for my scarecrow, I'm going to choose what hat I would like to make. In the PowerPoint, you'll notice that I have 3 different examples of hats that you can choose from. You can pick whichever one you like. They pretty much all start the same. On the bottom brim of the hat, the top part is just what's a little different. If you have a slightly different idea of the hat that you like to make for your scarecrow, of course, you can add your own choice that's different from these 3. I think I'm going to pick this one right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by making that curved, scalloped line across the top of my paper. So that means I'm going to do this all the way across. That starts the bottom brim of my hat. It also looks like it curves down to the sides, and it curves up over the top. That's the bottom of the hat. The top of the hat looks like it is another curve, just a little pointy. I'm going to stop because I hit the end of the page, pick up where I leave off. Remember, it's always okay to stop and start again if you hit the end of the page. And since this is a straw hat, it has those crisscross lines. So I'm going to draw my straight lines in one direction and cross over the other. And there's the start of my Scarecrow's hat. Okay. We'll go back later and add the face details and the straw and all that extra. Now that I have the hat of my Scarecrow done, I'm going to start the basic shape of the Scarecrow's body. So also on that PowerPoint, there will be a handout with 3 different choices of 3 different bodies that you can make. The collar is different on each one, and so are some of the clothes. Of course, you can always add your own details to the Scarecrow's body and clothes. This is just a place for you to start. I think I'm going to choose the one with the overalls because oftentimes when you see Scarecrows in real life, they are dressed like a farmer in overalls. So I'm going to use that picture to help me. And if I take a look at that image, I'll notice that the collar looks like 2 curves. So I'm going to go once and twice. The arms of the Scarecrow come straight out to the side. Now remember, this is a cropped view of our picture. So I'm not going to see the entire body of the Scarecrow. I'm only going to see part of it. So we're seeing more of the head and the start of the body. I'm not going to see the Scarecrow's legs. I'm going to come across as if I was making a rectangle and straight back down to the bottom of the page. Now, if I were making one of my other choices, this would simply be where I would add maybe buttons and a pocket and things to make this look like a shirt. But if I'm going to continue to make it look like overalls, I have to make a few more lines, once and twice, and a little rectangle to make the straps of the overall appear. I'm going to add 2 circles for buttons and a pocket right in the center. And the basic body of my Scarecrow is done. Now, before I go back and add all the details, let's make the face for our Scarecrow. Now, in Picasso's pictures, as we talked about in the beginning of the video, he shows his faces from 2 different viewpoints, one that's facing forward and one that's facing sideways. So in order to make that happen, we have to make 2 different eyes, an eye that is the front view and an eye that is a profile or side view. So let's start with the front view first. Now I'm going to make an eye that's more of an oval shape. If you have a different idea for an eye, of course, you can make your own. I'm going to simply start with a curve once and twice, and the eyeball circle in the center, big, and a smaller one I color in. This is the front view. My second half of the face is going to be the profile view. So my eye has to turn sideways. So this one I'm going to start as if I was making a V, turned on its side, a curve for the eyeball, and a simple, smaller one that I can color in. Now I have the front view facing forward and the side view facing profile. It's one of the reasons why Picasso's abstract faces look a little bit odd. It's because they have 2 different viewpoints in one image. I'm going to go down a little bit further, and I'm going to make the smile or the mouth for my Scarecrow. You can choose to make a simple curved smile or a different mouth maybe that's open. I'm going to make mine a little wavy and add the lines. Now, when a Scarecrow is made, it is sewn together. When you sew something with needle and thread, you get these little small lines that are known as stitches. I'm going to add some stitches to my Scarecrow's mouth. And maybe I'll even put a little bit on his face to make it look like he was sewn. I can add some extra details if I wanted, maybe eyebrows or eyelashes. You don't have to, but if you want to, remember everything in Cubist art is just simple shapes that we already know, that we put together to make our image. My scarecrow is stuffed with hay or straw, so I'm going to simply use a zigzag line to make it look like some straw is sticking out from under the hat. I could leave it just like that, or if I want to make it longer, the hay on the side, I would simply just add a zigzag line that came all the way down. My arms, they went to the end of the page, but if you stopped it a little bit early to make it look like a sleeve, you could always put the same straw at the end of the sleeve as if they were hands, or that the scarecrow was stuffed in the arms as well. Once you have the basic head, the hat, and the face, and the basic body done, now you can add some details if you want to your clothes and to your scarecrow. So for example, if you want to make a crow that has landed on the scarecrow itself, you could pick a spot, maybe by the arms or up top by the hat. And we're going to make a crow using very easy shapes. I'm going to start with a circle for the head, an oval for the body, a triangle for the beak. I add a dot for the eye, a triangle for a wing, and some lines for the feet. And a couple of curves make the tail feathers. And there's a crow. I'm going to put one on this side, but of course you could put more in your picture. It's up to you. Maybe you want to make a design on your shirt. Maybe you want to make a flower in the hat. Maybe you want to make some hay that's sticking out from the pocket. It's up to you. Okay, so think about your details and add them to your picture. Once the scarecrow is done, you can decide what you'd like to do with the background space. Now you have a choice. If you want to make a simple design in the background, like I did for this example, you could just maybe take something like straight lines, break it up into different sections, and then make them different colors. But if you want to make it a little bit more detailed and add some autumn or farm images to your picture, you can add something like corn or pumpkins or sun in the sky. If you'd like to do that, I'll show you a few ideas. So if I want to make corn as if my scarecrow was in a field of corn, because usually scarecrows are in a field trying to scare the birds away from the crops, I would do this. I'm going to start from the bottom of my page, and I'm going to make a wavy line up, stop when you hit the scarecrow, and pick up where you leave off. Remember, we are overlapping when we draw. That is when one thing is in front of the other. We can't draw through it. We just stop and pick up on the other side, so it looks like it is behind the image in the front. I'm going to take where I stopped and turn that into a V, and then curve back down to the bottom of the page. This is the start of the corn stalk. I can add the corn by going up top and making a curved line, and then adding crisscross details so it looks more like the corn kernels. To add the green leaves to the stalk, I simply make little triangles. I'm going to do this one more time on this side. So again, start at the bottom, wavy line up, turn it into a V, wavy line down, add the corn, the crisscross, and some triangle leaves. Simple and easy. Now I made corn, but of course you could always change it. You can make it look like tall grass as if it was a grassy or wheat field. You could make pumpkins on the bottom as if he was by pumpkins on the farm. It's up to you. You could even put maybe a small sun in the background, maybe some clouds. I'm going to take the rest of my background space and I'm just going to break it up into different sections. That way I can color them in different colors later on. And notice all I'm doing is using straight lines that go to the end of the page. That is it. And there's my finished Cubist abstract scarecrow drawing. Now before you start to color, you're probably going to want to take either a black marker or a black crayon and trace your picture. Most of the time in Picasso's work, he has a nice black outline in his images, so that way the colors stand out even more when you color them in. Remember, it does not have to be a permanent marker. Any black marker will work for outlining. When you are done, you can choose what you want for coloring. Markers and crayons work perfectly fine. If you want to try some colored pencils or paint, that is up to you. If you choose to make a background that is just a design, all I did was take different colors and fill in the spaces. If you made the background that has the farm details, you would simply color them in first and then the space behind it. I made mine all different shades of blue so that it looked like the sky in the background, but of course you could pick different colors. My only suggestion is that whatever colors you use in the background, they should be different than the colors you use in your scarecrow, because you want your scarecrow to stand out in your picture. Picasso's pictures are extremely colorful, and because they are abstract, the colors you use do not have to be realistic. So you can make your scarecrow's face orange and blue if you want. It doesn't have to be just tan or yellow or brown. You choose which colors work for you. Another suggestion for coloring, markers are excellent for small spaces, crayons are better for big spaces. So I like to use the markers for all the little small details and the crayons for all the big things when I color them in. You can even use the markers to outline first your space and then color in the remainder part with crayons. That also looks super neat when you color. Take your time with your work. Remember, you can use this video and the PowerPoint as much as you need to. Stop it and pause it so that you can go over steps again and catch up. There's nothing wrong with that. Take your time, and I cannot wait to see your scarecrows when they're done.